Hello people, I'm TheRealComicBookGamer. Today I'm going to be counting down 20 must-read graphic novels from the past decade. Now those of you that have been around for a while remember that I did 20 must-read graphic novels of all time, and I had a lot of fun doing that. A lot of people liked that video, so I wanted to do a follow-up, but this time limiting myself to the past decade and also doing some other limitations. So I'm not going to have any graphic novels that were already on that list, and I tried to stay away from doing like too many of one character. And also, a lot of you guys know that my definition of graphic novel is a little loose compared to some people's. I have some people get in the comments be like, that's not a graphic novel, that's just a trade collection of issues. It's like, yeah, whatever. I'm just, my definition is definitely looser than some people's, but yeah. So, and also I'm going to be doing a giveaway at the end of this video. I'll tell you how to do all that, because I just want to say thank you for all the support and everything recently on the channel with everything that happened with me in my comic shop. I wanted to show my thanks, so I'll be giving away some digital comics. At the end of the video, I'll tell you how to do that. But yeah, that's just my way of saying thank you to you guys. So if you want to know how to win some free digital comics, I'll tell you at the end. Also, this list isn't in any particular order. It's just 20 graphic novels from the past decade that I think everyone should read if you're into comics. So anyways, let's get into it. Starting off with Punisher Black and White, which is volume 1 of Mitch Gerads and Nathan Edmondson's run. It's really good. A lot of you guys probably heard of Mitch Gerads now because of what he's been doing with Mr. Miracle, but his work on Punisher is some of my favorite. I absolutely love it. It's a really cool storyline to where Punisher goes, because you know everyone knows Punisher for being in New York. Well, he moves to the West Coast, he fights the cartel, he gets in a scuffle with Electro. It's really cool and it kickstarts the run, and it's a really good book that I think everyone should read. And I think it's kind of slept on by a lot of comic fans. When people talk about really good Punisher runs, no one really talks about the Marvel Now run from Nathan Edmondson and Mitch Gerads, but I think more people should, and you should definitely check it out. Next, we have Thanos Volume 1 from Jeff Lemire. I've recommended this multiple times, and now that Infinity War came out, a lot of people want to know more about Thanos. I think this is a great book. The premise is Thanos gets god cancer, so Thanos decides to go around the universe and figure out if there's any way he can cure himself because he's got cancer. While that's going on, one of his kids, his son, assembles a team to kill him because he knows that Thanos is weak now. So he's like, I'm gonna assemble a team to kill Thanos now, and that's the premise of the book. It's really good and it's a lot of fun, and it's definitely one of the best things out of recent Marvel. Next up, we've got Deadly Class, which is actually getting a TV show next year on Sci-Fi. It's written by Rick Remender and the art is done by Wes Craig. It's a really cool indie book about a bunch of dangerous kids from different backgrounds that go to high school together, and then, well, they go to a certain school, like an assassin school, and it's really interesting how everything goes down in the storyline of it. I need to personally read the rest of the volumes. I've only read volume 1, but volume 1 is really good and will intrigue you, and I don't really want to spoil anything. That's why on all these books I'm very vague about things, because I want you guys to read them for yourselves, so I don't want to spoil too much. But yeah, I know I didn't say much, but it is really good, and you should definitely read it. Next up, we've got Captain America Castaway in Dimension Z, another Rick Remender book. This is another Marvel Now book that I think was slept on as well. As far as Marvel Now, when it first happened, a lot of people weren't big fans of it. It was Marvel's New 52, and there was some stuff that wasn't too good, but then there was some really good stuff, like the Punisher run, and then Rick Remender's run on Captain America. It was really good. It was probably the best Captain America we've had in like since Brubaker. Since Brubaker left Captain America, I'd say Rick Remender's probably been the best writer we've had on the character. So if you're a Captain America fan and you just kind of skip the Marvel Now run and you're mad with what they're currently doing with Cap, definitely read Rick Remender's run. The first 2 volumes, or like 3 volumes, are really good, and I love Castaway in Dimension Z. He gets cast away in Dimension Z, that's the plot of the book, and their time passes differently, so he's been there for like years, but in actuality it's only been like days, and a lot of things happen that, again, I don't really want to spoil, but he's going against Zola, and stuff goes down in this book, like stuff actually happens, and when he goes back to the real world, it really affects him, and he gets kind of messed up. But yeah, Castaway Dimension Z is really good. Next up, we've got Flashpoint. I only have Flashpoint in issues. I don't even have it as a graphic novel, but it's a really good graphic novel, and it's probably my favorite event book. It's possibly my favorite event book of all time. It's how you do an event properly. Most of you guys know Flashpoint, but for those who don't, the premise is Barry Allen goes back in time and saves his mother. He stops her from dying, and through doing that one simple act, he screws up the entire timeline. Everything's different. Suddenly, Batman is now Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's father, and Bruce Wayne's dead. Like, in that alley, Bruce Wayne died, and his parents survived. His mom became the Joker, and his dad became Batman. He's this badass Batman with guns, and a lot of other stuff happened. That's just one of the changes. Just so many different things happened. When Superman landed, he didn't land with Martha Kent and Jonathan Kent finding him. No, the government found him and has been testing him from day one, and so he's a really skittish weirdo. And Flash is the only one that you know as the character. Like, he's the only one that you actually know how he is, and he's going around like, what's going on? He doesn't have his powers because everything never happened because of what happened with his mom, with him saving her. So it's him going around this universe trying to fix things, being like, crap, this sucks. I don't know what to do. And then in the end, he's got to make a tough decision because it's kind of like the timeline or my mom being alive. And so it's rough, but it's a really good book with fantastic art and great writing. One of my favorite books out of Rebirth has been Batman, The War of Jokes and Riddles. It was really good. What Tom King was able to do here was fantastic. It's War of Jokes and Riddles. You have the Joker versus the Riddler, and Gotham is caught in the crosshairs. Throughout most of the entirety of the book, Batman is at a loss for what to do because it's just these two waging war on Gotham, and Batman can't do anything about it. It's a really interesting scenario, and there are people caught between, like Kite Man. Tom King makes Kite Man really interesting, and actually the most interesting character in the book. And it's really cool how he writes Joker and Riddler, how Batman plays a part in all of it, and just overall, it's a really damn good book that you should definitely read if you haven't. And then we've got Superman American Alien, which is written by Max Landis, and it's done by a bunch of different various artists because he wanted different artists for each issue because each issue was tonally different. And it's a really good book. It's the book that I suggest to pretty much anyone that wants to get into comics but has no clue where to start or what they're interested in. I suggest it. Even if you're not a Superman fan, you should definitely read American Alien. I personally am a huge Superman fan, as most of you guys know. He's my favorite superhero, my favorite comic book character. I love him. And there's some stuff in this book that's a little out of character for Superman, but overall I really like it, and it's not in canon, so it's not that big of a deal. But it's really cool. It's just Adventures of Superman. You get to see different chapters in Superman's life, from when he's like a 10-year-old kid to full-grown adult. He runs into Abin Sur. He has a scuff with Lobo. There's a lot of cool things that happen in here, and it's just really good storytelling that's paired with fantastic art. Okay, so this next one's kind of cheating because it's sort of an omnibus. It's the collection of Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino's run on Green Arrow. This right here, I love it. It's a great collection. But they had a run on Green Arrow in the New 52 that was so good, it single-handedly saved Green Arrow in the New 52. Because prior to that, Green Arrow sucked in the New 52. He was just awful. I love Green Arrow, but in the New 52, terrible up until Andrea Sorrentino and Jeff Lemire came on the book. This is what turned me on to Jeff Lemire. This is when I started following him, was when he started writing Green Arrow, and man, I'm so happy for this book. It's so good. Andrea Sorrentino's art is just perfect. I love it. It fits the book so well. There's multiple different storylines going in here. It's all connected, and it's a great collection. The story introduces a new villain called Komodo, who killed Oliver Queen's dad, and so he's coming after Oliver now and causing all types of problems. Then you learn about Oliver's half-sister in the book, and it brings back also some old school the Green Arrow villains like Vertigo or Richard Dragon. Just everything about the storytelling, the art, I just love it. It's about Green Arrow sort of trying to master being Green Arrow and starting up a team, and it's great. I would say it's sort of like the Arrow TV show done right, because if you're like me and you wanted to like the Arrow TV show and the first 2 seasons were good, but then after that kind of dropped off and sucked, it's sort of like that, except much better. It's done right. It's the correct way to do how the Arrow show is trying to do it. Then we've got Snake Eyes Storm Shadow, written by Chuck Dixon, and the art is done by Robert Atkins, and I love this book so much. It's got such a cool premise. So basically, what happens is Storm Shadow is restarting the Arashikage clan, and Snake Eyes joins him. Snake Eyes leaves G.I. Joe to join him, and it's really cool because generally it's just G.I. Joe and Cobra. Well, now there's a third faction, the Arashikage, who isn't for either, and Snake Eyes becomes an assassin that sort of leads a team for the Arashikage, and he goes after trying to assassinate Zartan, and just a lot of stuff happens in the book that I don't want to spoil. And again, it's Chuck Dixon, and this was my favorite era of G.I. Joe. I've always been a huge G.I. Joe fan, and a lot of people's favorite era was like old Marvel Larry Hama G.I. Joe. I love Larry Hama's stuff, but, well, older stuff, but for me personally, what Chuck Dixon and Mike Costa were able to do with the IDW stuff trumps that, in my opinion. I love what they were able to do. It's a bit more darker, grittier G.I. Joe, and I wish the movies would borrow from this because it's done so well, but yeah, definitely check it out. And moving on to Old Man Logan Border Town. Now, I've suggested this a lot in the past to people because it's so good. This is done by the same team that did the Green Arrow series I was talking about earlier. They had a run on Old Man Logan, and in my opinion, the best volume they had was volume 2, which is Border Town. What happens is Logan, it's Old Man Logan, so he's from the Old Man Logan universe, and he knows things from the future. He decides to go and find his wife that he marries when she's like really young, so he can protect her and make sure nothing happens to her. She lives on this border town like Alaska in the middle of nowhere. He goes there, and him going there causes more trouble than him actually helping her. It brings the Reavers there. The Reavers are the guys in Logan that absolutely sucked, but in this, they're really cool. If you're like me and you hated them in Logan and you wanted some cool Reaver action, read this. Wolverine has such a cool bloody brawl with the Reavers. It's awesome, and they just have like a full-on attack on the town that Logan's at, and he fights him, and just it's so good, and the art of him just dismembering the Reavers is so cool. Next up is another one that I have in issues, but not as the graphic novel, which is Night of the Living Deadpool. It's a cool, interesting series. It was a mini series done by Cullen Bunn where Deadpool was at he was at a buffet. He ate himself into a coma and then wake up in basically the Walking Dead universe. So he wakes up, everything's black and white except for him. His suit is red, and he's going around, he's trying to survive. He groups up with different people try to take him down, and the whole time he's trying to get to the bottom of it, of why this happened, why suddenly the entire world is just zombified, and it's a really fun parody of The Walking Dead, and I love it. It's a fun Deadpool book. Next up, we've got Superman the Men of Tomorrow, which was Jeff Johns' run on Superman the New 52. It was the best thing to come from Superman in the New 52 because the New 52 was a very rough time for a lot of characters, and Superman was one of them. He didn't have such a great run for the most part, but Jeff Johns did a great story with him where a guy that's very similar to Superman, sort of a mirror image of Superman, shows up, and Superman tries to befriend him. A lot of stuff goes down. Things happen to where you could be like, wow, if Superman did that, the world would be screwed. It's a good thing Superman's here to stop that guy. A lot of interesting things unfold. I love Clark and Jimmy's relationship, especially like the last issue, what happens. It's really cool. And if you're someone that skipped out on this version of the character on New 52 Superman, read this book. You don't really need to read anything else. Greg Pak did some good stuff with him in Action Comics, but the best was definitely Jeff Johns' run on him in Superman. It is done by John Romita Jr., the art though, and I know a lot of people don't like him, but I think it's fine. He's not my favorite artist by far. His faces are a little rough, but he does a good job for the most part. Next up, we've got Titans, the Return of Wally West. This was the long-awaited return of Wally West. So many people thought he was gone and done for because New 52, they introduced a new Wally West that was black, and everyone's like, oh, rip Wally West, he is gone forever. Turns out that's a completely different guy. That's not actually just them changing Wally West. It's a completely different guy. Old Wally still exists. He comes back during Rebirth #1, and then this is him coming back and trying to reform his team, the sort of new Teen Titans that you know from Marv Wolfman. A few different members, but it's kind of the same, and I love seeing their relationship and him trying to regain their trust and be like, hey, it's me, and they're like, because he was erased from the timeline pretty much, but everyone's like, what are you talking about? I don't know you. And so he tries to convince them and gets it to where eventually they actually be like, oh, Wally, I remember you. And it's a lot of heartfelt reunions. Then they go after a classic villain, which was cool, and I'll wait till you actually read the book because he's not really on the cover or anything. It's not known that that villain's really in it, and that's the person that made Wally disappear from the timeline, so he has to go and face that person. In the end, Wally has one of his coolest feats ever. Like, what he does and the matter of time he does it is absolutely insane and just shows why Wally's the most powerful Flash. As much as Barry's my favorite, Wally's definitely the most powerful. I don't really have to say much here. It's Batman Endgame. It is basically what you wanted from Death of the Family, because if you're like me, I really enjoyed Death of the Family, but at the end I felt empty because nothing happened. In the end, literally nothing happened. This whole time was building up. It was like, is Joker gonna cut someone's face off? What's gonna happen? What is going on? And then nothing happened. All he did was go, haha, I can do whatever and you'll never kill me, Batman. It's like, yeah, all us readers already knew that. But in Endgame, stuff happens. If you have not read it, you definitely have to. It is one of my favorite books for the New 52, if not my favorite book. Like, what was happening here and the time when it was coming on, all the speculations from the fans was so much fun. It is top tier Batman. It is such good storytelling. Scott Snyder was killing it here, and Greg Capullo's art is fantastic. It opens up with a battle against the Justice League because Joker is able to control the Justice League. So Batman's going against the Justice League. That is awesome. And then throughout the book, Batman's trying to figure out what's going on with Joker, because Joker's kind of convinced them that, hey, I'm actually immortal and I've been around for a long time. Batman's like, am I getting like pranked right now, or is this real? And so he's trying to figure that out while he's trying to figure out what Joker's trying to do. And it's just such a good story. And we've got Hawkeye's Little Hits. This is volume 2 of Matt Fraction and David Aja's run on the character of Hawkeye. The best run on the character, pretty much unanimously from anyone. This one's really cool. There's an assassin that's going after Hawkeye, although you can't really go wrong with any volume. The one about Kate Bishop was definitely the weakest volume, but anyways, volume 2 is probably my favorite. There's an assassin that's going after Hawkeye. He's got to deal with that. He's kind of at a low point in his life with some things that are going on. The dog has an entire issue dedicated to himself. You get an entire issue from the perspective of the dog, and it is actually really well done because of how good of a storyteller Matt Fraction is, and how good the art is from David Aja. I love the way the panels and everything are set up, and it's just, if you've never have read this run, definitely read the entire thing. But if you don't know if you want it or not, definitely just at least try out volume 2. I'd say that's my favorite. It's done so well. Next up is my favorite storyline featuring Deadpool ever, and this is a comic I've even done a video on before. It's called Wolverine Origins Deadpool. This was Daniel Way's run on Wolverine Origins, which was a series he had for a while that went on for a good bit, and this was my favorite volume from that series. It's about Deadpool, who has a contract on Wolverine, so he's trying to hunt down Wolverine, and the entire time Wolverine's just like trying to get away from him, and they're facing off, and they're going through this city, and it's really cool, and things unfold that I don't want to spoil because the plot twist is actually kind of awesome, and what the whole point of everything actually was, and I love it. You know, I couldn't go this entire list without mentioning Jonah Hex, and that's why I'm talking about the Six Gun War, which was one of the few pre-New 52 Jonah Hex stories from Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray that was actually a full storyline, because most of their books were just like one issue, just one shots that were just a different story every time. This was actually a connected story, and it's really cool. It's a classic Western, basically, and what's going on is you have Jonah Hex going and teaming up with different people. Like, I believe this was the first time that they used Tallulah Black, which is a classic character in Jonah Hex now, thanks to these guys. And he also teams up with El Diablo. There's a really cool scene where he goes against like several different assassins at once when he enters a town, and he just takes them all out, and it's so badass. And just, yeah, if you're a fan of Westerns at all, definitely read it. Even if not, if you're just a comic book fan, I would say try it out because it's so good. It's something that I would hope one day they turn into a movie, whether that's animated or live action, even though they already did a garbage Jonah Hex live action movie. If they actually followed the comic, specifically this comic, it'd make for such a cool movie. And here we've got Green Arrow Year 1, which was done by Andy Diggle, and the art is done by Jock, which Jock I'm a huge fan of. I even have a poster in my room of Jock's Joker, and he's just a great artist, and the storytelling in this is really good. It's about Green Arrow's journey. It's year 1. It's just like how we have Batman Year 1, but not many people have read Green Arrow Year 1. It's a definitive origin for the character of how he got stranded on that island, what happened while he was in that on that island, and how he became who he is and fought to become the warrior that he is and had to fight to survive. And there's like a bunch of things going on the island, like drugs and people getting their drugs from the island, and Green Arrow getting caught in between, and it's really cool, and it's one of my favorite origin stories. Then of course I had to mention another Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo Batman book. When you're talking about the best graphic novels of the past decade, you can't pass this up. There's no way. The Court of Owls. The Court of Owls pretty much everyone has read because the New 52 happened. A lot of stuff was garbage, but everyone unanimously was like, this Batman book is fantastic, and it introduces so much lore into the Batman universe, like so much the Batman mythos, which with the Court of Owls and who they are and how they've been in Gotham the whole time. But a lot of people thought, oh, they're just a nursery rhyme, that's all they are. No, they're real, and they have talons, which are these undead assassins that will come after you and try to murder you and look badass. And there's a really cool storyline going on with it all, with Batman possibly having a brother, who knows, and there's plot twists, and just everything about the book is so good. If you haven't read it, you're doing a disservice to yourself. Everyone should read Court of Owls. And lastly, but definitely not least, we have Black Hammer, which is very recent. It's done by Jeff Lemire. Like I said, I am a huge Jeff Lemire fanboy. I've mentioned that a million different times, but Black Hammer is currently a book that's going on by him, and it's pretty good. It's for people that are kind of tired of superhero comics but want something new. They're not ready to give up. I would say definitely try this. It's his indie book from Dark Horse, where he sort of examines the superhero genre, and what he does is he takes superheroes that are from this sort of golden age era of superheroes, and he puts them into our world. They get transported to our world one day, and they have to live in a normal life, because while they still have their powers and stuff, the thing is, nothing happens in our world. You know that, like, terrible stuff happens and everything, but it's not like crime every 2 seconds like it is in the comic book world. It's not like supervillains. It's a different type of crime, and so they don't really have any crime to fight. They have no purpose, so they all just live on a farm trying to figure things out and deal with each other. And some people really like their lives, and other people are like, no, this is garbage. I want to go back to being a superhero. I hate this. This is awful. Especially one character who is a mirror of Shazam, well, Captain Marvel. She's an older woman, but when she says, I can't remember what her trigger phrase is, but when she says her trigger phrase, like Shazam, she turns into like a really super powerful 10-year-old girl with superpowers. Well, when she got transported, she was that little girl, and now she's still that little girl, because in that world, she can't transport back. So she's like a 60-year-old woman stuck in the body of a 10-year-old, and she's not happy about it at all. And it just makes for a really interesting story. But anyways, that's it, guys. I know I definitely missed some, but I only had 20 that I could choose, and I think these were really 20 really good ones that a lot of people should read. Let me know in the comments below if I missed any and what you thought of the ones I've named, or if you're going to check them out. And also, again, that giveaway that I'm doing, I'm going to be giving away a bunch of different digital comics, and I'll also be giving away a 1 month of Marvel Now. So if, not Marvel Now, Marvel Unlimited. If you don't know what that is, Marvel Unlimited is sort of it's their digital subscription service. So you go online, you go to Marvel Unlimited, and you can read like unlimited Marvel comics. They have almost their entire database of comics on there. They have like 99% of Marvel comics on that digital database, and so you can read however much you can in a month if you get the code. So how I'm going to be giving away is, you don't have to like the video or subscribe or follow me on anything, but that would be appreciated. But you don't have to do any of that crap to actually win the giveaway or anything. What I'm going to be doing is, anyone who's been in the past knows this, I go on Twitter and I post a picture of the code along with the link to redeem it. So whoever, it's first come, first serve. If you see the tweet first, you click on the link, you enter in the code. I always tweet out a picture of the code because I don't want to accidentally enter the code in wrong or anything. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be entering in, I'm going to be taking pictures of the codes and posting them on Twitter. So yeah, you don't have to follow me or anything, or do anything. It's just much appreciated if you did. Although it would probably help if you turned on notifications if you want to get to the giveaway first. But yeah, my Twitter will be linked in the description down below, and I'll be doing this tomorrow on May 23rd at around 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's when I'll start like posting the codes on Twitter, so be ready for that. And yeah, that's just my way of saying thank you to you guys so much for the support, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.
Legends never die, we've been going every night. I've been feeling way too blessed, but with Lex I'm never stressed. They don't know just what we do, we've been out here with the crew. They don't know just how we live, think we got too much to give.